I woke up this morning feeling amazing. For the first time in ages, my brain fog from long COVID had actually went away and I was able to think clearly for the first time in weeks. And I started thinking about the YouTube video that I made yesterday about why Jordan Peterson is so popular, and I realized that I wasn't quite able to articulate quite as well that I wanted to why Jordan Peterson is so popular. So I was thinking about it. And at the same time, all day yesterday, I've been thinking about how I know someone who has a parent who is a narcissist, and I was thinking about giving them tips on how to survive having a parent who is a narcissist. Well, how do you go about saying to a friend, oh, by the way, your parent's a narcissist, here's what you need to do, without potentially causing a lot of drama? So I went about my day, and as I was quite bored making breakfast, it clicked, the light bulb clicked, and both of them came together. Both of these thoughts. And this was obviously what I was trying to articulate, but I actually failed to get there. But now with my clear brain, worked. So why do people love Jordan Peterson? And why does he have a cult-like following? Now what I actually realized was that I've seen Jordan Peterson many times give the answer without actually giving the answer. So when Jordan Peterson is asked, why do people love his books so much? Why do people love his lectures so much? What is it that people are taking from this? He always speaks about how people come up to him and they speak about how they were stagnating in their life, they were struggling to make decisions, they weren't really getting anywhere. And his book, 12 Rules for Life and 12 More Rules for Life, helped them succeed and be a better version of themselves. They were able to focus and build themselves into a more high value man and elevate themselves higher than they previously had. And like I said before, these are the kind of things that people's parents should be teaching them, but for some people it just never happened. And this is the reason why people love Jordan Peterson and why he has a cult-like following. And it's also how to survive parents that are narcissistic or mentally ill in general. And here we go, the two tie in perfectly. You see, nobody escapes childhood without being damaged in one way or another, and I mean nobody. So why do people like Jordan Peterson also answers the question, what do you do if you were raised in an environment with parents that were mentally ill, perhaps narcissistic, you were lied to, they gaslight you, and then one day you wake up unable to make decisions? Well, that's where the 12 Rules for Life comes in incredibly handy. So a huge problem here is that basically a lot of people grew up in an environment where their leaders, their parents, the people that are creating this ideological soup that they're raised in, are gaslighting them and hamstringing them. And that obviously becomes a huge issue for people's development. They're supposed to help you to grow, but instead they're hamstringing you, and as a result making it more difficult for you to individuate. You see, your parents are meant to create an environment which is healthy for you to grow in, and for you to create healthy ego boundaries and be able to individuate, with the idea being that you can then separate from them and grow up and function in the world. But that obviously often does not happen. But due to their own personal issues, they are instead gaslighting you and lying to you and holding you back. And as an adult, it's your job to fix that problem. And these problems means that there's parts of your personality that didn't develop properly, so therefore there's parts of your personality that won't work properly. And this is an issue because you internalize your parents in order to guide you through life. So how do you heal from that? Well, the first thing is you need to realize that that's there so you can fix it. That's the good news. So you need role models, and you have to consciously choose role models as an adult. And this is where Jordan Peterson comes into it. So you have to consciously choose people and say, this is a good person, this is a good person, that's a good person. Why? And then you have to think about how they operate in the world and how you could work like that. So what's happening is people are thirsting for role models in order to function properly. They're looking for people with certain attributes like kindness, strength, love, assertiveness, bravery, many things that will help you develop your own personal character. So once you're aware of these specific attributes of these people that it is that you admire, then basically write down these attributes, because that's the ones that you need to work on for yourself. You see, and as a result, you can internalize a parent. And then you can start to consciously build an inner parent inside of you by knowing these things and working on these things. You see, psychologically, you should have two pillars inside of you, a mommy pillar and a daddy pillar. So it's a really simple case of, if you're emotionally drawn to people or you're fascinated by them, then ask yourself why. And then that way you can learn a lot about yourself. So you list the attributes, you then take them, and then you seek to internalize them within yourself. But how do you do that? You're basically gonna have to brainwash yourself, hypnotize yourself into communicating falsely with a loving father figure and a loving mother figure internally. And then you're gonna have to brainwash yourself into thinking that a loving mother figure or a loving father figure is with you and guiding you through stuff. Kind of like religion, except we're seeing the things that we need to see in people in real life, and then we can learn from other people rather than from a Bible, you know? Makes sense. So basically, you start to speak, you start to talk, then you start thinking, this is who I am, this is what I want. And you know, you wait to get smacked down for that. Because if you had narcissistic or psychopathic parents, any kind of expression of yours would be quite awful for them, they wouldn't really like that. And sadly, any of your own specific choices would be punished. You would have been punished, you would have been hamstrung for that because they would have seen it as a defiance rather than letting you individuate. It would be a cause of narcissistic injury to them, so therefore any of your choices would be punished. Because unfortunately, that is how hypersensitive narcissists actually are. So you will express these things and you won't be punished for it. Instead, you'll be rewarded. You will get positive reinforcement, which is exactly what you need to grow. And then essentially you do it again, you do it again, you do it again. Then after 30 days, things tend to become a habit, which is amazing news. And then before you know it, you're feeling very different about yourself. You're feeling like a very different human being just by expressing what you yourself want, which is exactly what you need to be doing. You can make choices once you know what you want, and you can know what you want once you are allowed to exist. But if you're not given permission to exist, none of this can actually happen. And that's why it's super important to know this in advance, to say heal from a narcissistic parent or a mentally ill partner and so on. So where does this tie in with Jordan Peterson? Well, as I previously said, nobody gets through childhood without being damaged in one way or another. And obviously Jordan Peterson's book is basically a plan for how to be a better person, how to live a better life and so on. And then on top of that, when you're healing and trying to recover and be a better person, you need to look for these attributes that you can internalize yourself. And Jordan Peterson has many, many, many of them. So essentially, you have a large group of men and women who basically want to kind of internalize Jordan Peterson, not all of him, but his attributes, and basically better themselves that way. Because essentially, somebody who wrote the 12 rules for life that have resonated with so many people, surely that's an ideal person to resonate these attributes from. You see? And then of course there's the whole, he speaks about his family and how much he loves his family. He's obviously very resilient and strong and tough due to all the things that he's been through and stuff. And yeah, so that's pretty much it. People are seeing him as a very strong role model, and as a result, they themselves want to internalize many of his own personal attributes, which they think would benefit themselves, and as a result, benefit everybody else around them. There we go. That's a bit more in depth. It makes a bit more sense. Kind of sounds like a cult, but at the same time, though, it kind of makes sense. He is a clinical psychologist, so. There we go. I think it could be argued that it could be the same kind of idea for recovering from a narcissistic relationship, as the narcissist takes on the role of the parent and the child within the relationship. They'll be the parent when they want to be controlling and manipulative and stop you making choices. And they'll be the child when they want to manipulate you into caring for them, feeling sorry for them, not leaving them, as obviously they have abandonment issues. So again, yeah, I think these ideas work for both narcissistic parents and narcissistic partners and how to recover from them. I guess what I'm saying is, I don't think it's a coincidence that Jordan Peterson says that his fans tell him that they were going nowhere in life, they were stagnating, they couldn't make any decisions and stuff, and they couldn't better themselves. And people with narcissistic parents go through that same thing. And that's basically what happens to people who grow up, and they have to learn their way out of that. So I think it is one and the same people, and basically Jordan Peterson is helping them overcome that. And that's pretty amazing. It's pretty sad when you think about it, but also pretty amazing that so many people are aware of what it is that they need to do. So there we go. Finally, got there in the end, and I'm out.